as a hint of the level at which the alarm should sound, should be triggered. And finally, the collective intelligence, that's to say what I call the exchange window, to look at economics and management, not only to economics, but look at management as the main contribution of experimental economics and artificial economics. Collective intelligence represents the intelligence shared by a group of agents interacting in a related institution. We shall bound the arguments that follow to the impersonal value exchange. Every year, we repeat to my freshman, I don't repeat it anymore because I'm retired, but I used to repeat to my students that didn't know at all about the artifact of the standard competitive model, supply and demand. I did this experiment, first run by Bernard Smith in 1962. Without telling them anything, I give half of them in red cards, a reservation price taken randomly from a demand. And to the other part, the other side of the room, I gave them in a blue cards. I wrote at the back the reservation price taken randomly from the supply. And once the experiment starts, they start making bids and offers. They are put public announced in a table in a board. No? Well, after some time, the game is over. 5 minutes, 4 minutes, and they don't catch up, obviously, the equilibrium. But at the third time you do it, they catch up very well the theoretical equilibrium of this demand and supply. So equilibrium emerges in a natural way. They don't know anything about. They are just perceptive and want to do their best. They don't have a strategy at all. They are zero intelligent ones. But what happens is the following day we modify the institution, and now those with the red card, which are buyers, can listen in, but in the blackboard there are only the prices, the offers of the sellers. No? What would be the equilibrium? First thing I ask them will be up or down. Well, obviously they know that information is valuable. So information is valuable, that means that the final equilibrium will be in favor of those who reserve the information. And this is the case. So again, we generate a solution for something which is not even in the textbooks. The closer model to this is the market of lemons, but it's not quite the same. And for this, you have to go to the artifact of introducing uncertainty and probability and God knows. Let's just use our lab to generate what is going on. But the important thing as this is this generative method which you use in artificial economics is complemented the mechanistic, axiomatic methods and the normal inductive methods of the statistics and econometrics. It's not against, it's just complementing it, okay? But look at this. Imagine now that these are rods which have to be mechanized to become ajedrez, ¿cómo se dice ajedrez? Chess. No? And these are the machines. We have to do all the tutoring. Well, we can conform this, the show floor, as an axiom, that computing a continuous double axiom like this one, and this will get the solution there, a very robust solution. You take off one of the machines and the system adapts again. So holistic manufacturing is just one application. But what happens here is not only by generating collective intelligence, but at the same time that we are solving, there's a calculator system. We are solving, in this case, the solution of a pair of equations. And in this case, a solution of a pair of equations, one of them is random, God knows, no? Right? So we solve at the same time a problem of scarcity and choice. So we can export these social experiment methods to management engineering, which is what we are doing now. And it's been very appreciated for management engineering. So social experiment methods, artificial economics to artificial management. Well, here you have got the resume of what I've said. Social learning is involved in this experiment, and ecological rationality is manifesting. Is At the same time, the experiment is an economic calculation problem, and spontaneous order appears at the Hayek way. And ecological rationality may be combined with full constructivist rationality, as is been advised by Bernard Smith in his book, which I really recommend to anyone if you haven't read it so far, Rationality in Economics, 2008. So we now have two windows to look at the economy. The usual window, value and optimization, top-down approach, and the exchange window to look at economics and institutional design, macroeconomics. Adaptive expectations may be equivalent to the best econometrician with the right model, and even devising institutions or rules of law, as Hume suggested. And in game theory, we have a second generation of personal exchange with heterogeneous agents and endogenous growth. And what about in management? As I said, management can inherit the properties of the generative method because it solves problems of scarcity and choice, as I said. No? For instance, within the context of the continuous double action, you can try to grasp what is going on under the artifact of supply and demand. And there are so many contributions now in the last 8 years. Many of these contributions are of my people, my team, but there are many other ones in which you can, all the things you have to do is to, for instance, in the example of the duopoly we saw yesterday in one of the sessions, you always should devise your experiment in such a way that this triple is respected. Agents and their properties, the environment and the endorsement and the institutions. And by varying the characteristics of each of these dimensions, you will get a lot of beautiful contributions, socially valuable contributions to understand the underpinnings, the behavioral foundations of the markets. Well, perhaps I have to agree with this cartoon from Klemperer books. Why every economist should learn some auction of theory? Because auction theory, you will see if you enter in start trying this, refreshes the parts other economists cannot reach. So when you go tonight, ask for, instead of asking for beer, ask for an auction. Well, because there is because artificial economics solves a problem, as I said, of scarcity and choice. It provides with collective intelligence, and you can export the social inspired institutional models to management engineering, recovering the social dimension of management. So expelling all these production engineers which don't consider management, don't consider institutions, don't consider entrepreneurship. But in our case, in our institute, since financial assistance has been erased from the Spanish government agenda, my colleagues, some of them, are moving in partnership with private institutions from artificial economics towards managerial applications of artificial economics, waiting for better times. There are some exceptions, like the brothers Izquierdo, which keep on tracking in theoretical economics. Well, just to finish, some examples of what I mean by ecological rationality and the wisdom of the crowds. These two pictures are taken from the Iowa electronic market for betting and in whatever issue is going on. In this particular case was just the Friday before, I took them the Friday before the last elections in the States. This is the vote intention. You can see they were very balanced. But we're talking about intention, which is wishful thinking, is what I would like to be the winner. No? But when you bet who is going to be the winner, here is the difference. You could see that on Friday, the final outcome, the forecasting was absolutely perfect. It happens what on Friday we saw. Why? Because collective intelligence manifests when there are purposeful people which are betting and risking. That's why all these people, which probably, you know, the paper, the 2 pages paper published in Science in 2008, the promise of prediction markets. In here, there are about 8 Nobel Prizes. And what are they claiming in these 2 pages? Well, they They claim that the ability of groups of people to make predictions, that is ecological rationality, is a potent research tool and should be freed of unnecessary government restrictions. So they are asking a player, sending a player to regulate these markets. In here you can see that 10 years ago almost, most of the important multinationals used prediction markets to managerial problems. And there are even consultancy now open to anyone for treating problems like market research, project innovation, deciding which product will be in the market, risk management, etc. So we are not talking something which is very theoretical. It's already in business. We are now, for instance, in the institute using using social spy methods exported from this kind of experiments, auctions, to portfolio project management and portfolio project management, something which is a project is NP hard, but a portfolio project is NP hard elevated to the NP hard, right? To solve a problem of optimizing the resources of a corporation which is running at the same time several projects. This is in a theoretical, very theoretical issue which we are exporting to the project management community, which is astonished and is receiving us with the open hands, no? Open arms, no? Hands as well. And there's another issue we are now involved in partnership with several firms in a European project. I think that Nigel knows a bit about this more than me, which is airport slot allocation as a combinatorial auction. Now, it's very complicated because in the experiments I was talking before, you just trade one item, no? And each of the participants either is a seller or is a buyer. But things may get very complicated when you get a mix of items, a mix of products even, and you can either buy or sell.